Hello everyone and welcome back to Let's Play Europa Universalis for MEIOU and Taxes 3.0 with me, Alpha by Omega, and the Osmano Devlet. So it is the unfortunate truth that our Padishah has died and we are now ruled by Osman II Osmanli. But I don't think we have to be that much sorry, as our previous ruler, where is he? Starting over here, Mehmet IV has ruled from 1508 till 1554, and I actually believe that, yes, you're 15, so with a bit of a luck you are going to rule for a long time as well. I wonder, well, you didn't rule for very long, but you ruled a shorter time, you ruled a shorter time, you ruled for a shorter time. Oh wow, actually, well, no, Mehmet I was probably the most, or the longest ruling Sultan that we had, from 1364 to 1412. So that would be, what, 48 years. 48 years he has ruled. And you, Mehmet IV, you ruled for 44? Am I reading that correctly? Yes, 44 years. So, okay, you're the second longest ruling Sultan that we had. But he has done a ton during his rule. We had the bloody Osmanli conquest of Badin, we had the minor Lithuanian conquest of Zhytomyr, Osmanli conquest of Malatya, long Sirvani conquest of Chechnya, brutal Sirvani conquest of Golestan, epic Osmanli conquest of Diyarbakir, and Lithuanian conquest of Bryansk, the short second Sirvani conquest of Golestan. And we have gained these provinces. Jesus Christ, I didn't even realize how much we have gained. So we gained Bessarabia, Kupa, Kuban, Toros, Sirt, Barka, Sarkel, Tana, Apshivati, Manich, Malatya, Erzincan, Marash, Silesia, Badin, Diyarbakir, Belgrad, Sivas, Merdin, Karpat, Erzurum, Timotská krajina, Anapa, Shapsuk, Odishi, Guria, Tao, Bayburt, Chapagyur, Desht-i Kipchak, Tarson, Podunavie, Braničevo, Hisn Kaifa, Ergani, and Dersim. So basically, we have gained the entirety of our northern positions, with maybe the exception of Theodora and Crimea. We have gained huge amounts of territory in the Balkans. We have annexed Akkoyunlu and gained the territories over here from Genoa. And we have gained the territories in the north of Africa. So yeah, this ruler has grew our territory quite significantly, and we're gonna see that when we look at the stats, because it is plainly visible there. I might want to, in the end episode, actually do a little bit of snapshots of how we grew at the beginning and end of reigns of our sultans. I'm planning, if you have any suggestions what the last episode should look like, I usually did the territories changes over time, which is a really nice thing that the game is giving you. But we could also do some kind of overall view, like stats and growth of our population, maybe every 15 years, do a snapshot of it, something like that. Anyway, let us now look at how our population has grown, which is usually the first thing that we do, here. It's the first one that we take, and I think that we're gonna start with that here as well. So as you guys know, we are usually starting with looking at the original territory and how it develops, and after quite some time, we are actually seeing a significant decrease in population here. I'm gonna put the stat on the screen right now, but you can see that in the original territory we actually lost quite a lot of tenants, 27,070. We lost 58,138 nomads, and we lost 3,948 residents. So the total weighted or averaged population, the weighted and average population is mostly for the average income, spending, and wealth. But you can see that we have lost, well, close to 90,000 people. I believe this is not an effect of war or anything like that. It is more of an effect of the constant plagues that we had, which is unfortunately quite significantly impacting our cities. You have seen me comment on the fact that Constantinople is not raising its population. And despite the huge amount of wealth that we have gained, you can see the wealth difference is pretty much just excessive across the board. Literally every single person living in this core territory has gained nearly 2 gold of wealth, which is, considering we have nearly 1.2 million people living there, is quite a significant feat. Still, the overall population has decreased, which makes me sad. It's not something that I would be really okay with on general purpose, but unfortunately not much we can do with it. When the plague comes, the plague comes. And I'm not gonna downplay it. We had some pretty significant wars which took toll on our manpower as well. There were hundreds of thousands of casualties, so again, that plays a role as well. However, if we look at the entire territory, meaning, including the new provinces, I'm going to put that on the screen right now, you can see that is insane. Our overall population grew by 3,761,804 people. Now, this is, of course, due to gaining a huge tracts of land pretty much everywhere. But I'm gonna say that it is still stunning. We had just below 9 million in the previous update, and now we are well over 12.5 million, with people actually being fairly rich. When you look at the difference in wealth, you can also see that, every single strata of the population, when you look at our entire empire, has grown richer, and the weighted average, meaning the actual wealth calculated on the individual level of a person. So I took the wealth of the 9,411,851 tenants, and I put it together with the 1.8 million residents, and calculated, then divided by the overall amount of people. The average is 18.62, which is almost a 3 gold difference per person, and even for the tenants there is itself growth of 1.2 gold. So I'm kind of happy with that. What is a little bit bad, and I haven't commented on that on the previous update, but you probably caught it, is that people are getting a little bit poorer because their spending is higher than their average income. But there's not much we can do with that. That is just what it is. It calculates it based on their needs and everything. But if they are getting richer as a whole, and I believe that's mostly coming from the fact that we pillaged pretty much the rest of our enemies around us to the bone, I'm fine with it, because they can spend more than they're earning if overall they're getting richer, even if that makes very little sense. But they're getting additional bonuses. Now, what I'm going to put on the screen next is, of course, our major cities. And you can see that there has been quite a growth of them since 1510. We have a number of new ones on the table. We have Usak as a new one, Tarson, Tana, Sivash, Cilicia, and Belgrade. I actually went as far as starting to add only cities that actually have an urban population of at least 6, because if we added 3 as we started in the beginning, it would be just way too many. And you can easily see on this graph that we have some amazing additions, especially Sivash and Cilicia, though not having an extremely high urban development, have a huge rural development. 24 and 28 respectively is just crazy, and having a total development of 39, so close to 40, is actually pretty darn good, especially when you look at, for example, Constantinople, which you can see at this point has a development of only 19. I mean, I'm happy because their overall development went up by 2, from 8 rural and 7 urban to 9 rural and 8 urban, so they're now at 19. But it's still, compared to the other ones, it actually doesn't do much. Let me just see, when we look at the overall map of development, you can see, you can see that Sivash is actually being quite greenish on the overall map, and so is Cilicia. as the second most. Well, actually, no, Silesia is more developed than Sivash. Silesia has 39 and Sivash is 34. So that's pretty good. I mean, we can see some pretty nice green. Yeah, okay, so Anjou has 40. How's Paris doing? That one is significantly green. 76, Jesus. Yeah, we're not really doing well with our capital. In the previous playthroughs, when I was playing Brittany and Denmark and Novgorod, we've always been doing really well for our city, but for some reason Constantinople is just not budging. Well, you know, new version of the game, different setup, different situation, but yeah, definitely the highest development in Cilicia and Sivash. You can see Mamluks. Al-Qahira has 72. Any other interesting? You got 41. It's interesting. Anything else? 32, 38 in Madagascar? Like, really? Okay, it's 38 ruler though, so, you know, no urbanization happening there, but we can see Toledo here having 45. Anything else that's interesting? I mean, China and India, that's always going to be there. Like, what are they going to do? Yeah, 85. But yeah, for us, I think actually we can have a look if we can sort it when it comes to development here. Nope, we can't. It's an urban and... So we can't really see total development, but... I'm pretty sure that these two are the most developed. So anyway, as you can see, development went up almost everywhere. Pretty much all of the provinces that I can see had a growth. Ankara, for example, grew by 4. We have 6 in Kütahya. We have 2 in Konya, 2 in Constantinople, 4 in Chaldea. Is it Chaldea? Yeah, 4 in Chaldea. So yeah, pretty much like development wise we are advancing, which is pretty good. Unfortunately, again, Constantinople just gained a little bit, and I'm sad because not even the urban development is that high. I was hoping that it would be the jewel of our empire, but so far no luck. Kaffa though is doing pretty well, 22 urban development. I believe that's the high. Yeah, that's the highest that we have. So at least we have a place that we can be proud of. Anyway, when we look at the trade, I'm going to put it on the screen right now, you can see that there is also quite a growth. We have been present in quite a lot of trade nodes already, and now we have Lower Nile and Berber Coast present as well, even though our actual impact there is, you know, less than 1% in Lower Nile and less than 2% in the Berber Coast. It's funny because, you know, we gained 2 provinces down here and they're actually part of 2 separate nodes. I didn't even realize that until I prepared for this episode, so it's kind of cool to see. In Anatolia, by the way, we have 96.4% dominance, and in Black Sea we have 97.21%. So it means that we're controlling pretty much everything, with the exception of Abkhazia here. Any other... Oh no, there's actually quite a lot of... Well, no, it's Abkhazia, Abyssinia, Hatukwe, and Circassia. These are not ours. Okay, and you... Svaneti, the rest of Kartvelia. And you as well, huh? Interesting. But still, you know, at this point we already have 97.21% of the trade nodes, so not gonna be long before we have... I mean, we cannot have 100% because there are probably opposing merchants there, but we are gonna get very close to 100% soon. Pretty nice growth in Levantine Sea as well. We now have 68.45% there. We're becoming fairly dominant in Lower Danube. We have 46.84% there, and I guess that's you know, that's all. I mean, our trade is definitely also doing better, but it's mostly because of the brutal expansion that we have done rather than, you know, focusing on it in some specific way. But overall development will help you with that. The more developed your province are, Jesus Christ. The more developed your province are, the more of an impact on the trade has and the more of a trade power they give you. So it's not like, we haven't really done much. Now let's look at the cities. We've been tracking 4 starting cities for us. Constantinople hasn't been a starting city, but it has been the city of great interest. So I'm going to put it on the screen right now. And again, you can see that all of the cities have actually had some growth, with the exception of Constantinople, that lost 2,174 people. And unfortunately, all of this comes from urban, where we have lost 3,111 people. Its rural population actually grew, its notables actually grew, but the rural population is not doing well. When I'm speaking about it, I really feel like we might want to disperse our armies and just get them from the fringe territories, but on the other hand, it just doesn't feel right. I don't want to... Actually, can we check our armies now? I haven't realized that. Are you guys Eskişehir, Sakmani, Despot? Some are from Bursa. Do we have any from Constantinople so that we could be even mad about it? Well, we have some, Eskişehir, some Hivendigar units here, some from Bursa, and some from Usak. So some of them are from the core territories. Tarnovo Sadica, Lovek, so we are mostly Balkanized army. Jambo, Vitiosa. So I really wasn't wrong about the fact that it's mostly the plagues, The plagues are ravaging our population, and Constantinople has been hit a couple of times. We have seen that, so unfortunately, it is what it is. But Iskidar's population grew by nearly 4,000 people. Bursa also grew, and Edirne has also grew. So hopefully we're gonna see the impact later on. I think it might be good to keep investing into Constantinople as we did, getting them some more amenities, maybe better roads, which would help. I think you get a little bit more of... for Constantinople, the port is definitely way more important because, most of the communication is done via ships, but, the roads wouldn't help. Wouldn't hurt either. Okay, well, now let's look at taxes. Well, taxes has been something that I wasn't even expecting to get so much better, but it's the combination of both corruption reduction and growth of our empire. So the revenues went up by 224 and corruption went up by only 190. So we see the same thing as we saw before, where we last year increased the revenues by 225 and corruption by only 169. So you can see that while we are growing as an empire, we are managing to lower the corruption slowly, step by step. So we are getting a bigger and bigger share of the pie. And our total income is now 34,229. Now, when we look at the actual taxes, there is some quite significant differences when it comes to the taxes themselves. As you can see on your screen, we have the peasantry paying us way less rents, but they pay way more fees and way more land tax. So it's kind of interesting. I don't know what that's coming from. There is probably a major shift in ownership. I guess when they get richer, they're buying more land or something. I'm not sure how deep the simulation goes for the economy, if that is even possible, but it's an interesting shift nonetheless, because you can see that the taxes have shifted significantly. Residents had just an overall increase in everything, but nobles have the same shift as before. They're paying way less in obligations, and they're paying more in chattel tax and in inheritance. So that's kind of interesting. Burghers, you can see that they have, an increase in everything. And clergy also had a flat increase in everything. Actually, clergy is important because, they didn't pay any tax in the beginning of the game. Last update, they paid 8.8 and now they're paying already 15.51. So it is quite interesting to see that the amount of taxes that they pay and the size of their what would you call it, like the size of their money pool because I know it's not just like they own the land and everything, but the general tax, because they're paying more in everything. They're paying more in land, they're paying more in inheritance, more in fees, more in excises, even though the difference there is very small. So they're spreading their actual impact, which is interesting, because if we wanted to go with that last estate reform here, which would turn them from subordinate to secular, you can see that they're giving us way more autonomy and they have less gravity, but they get a huge bonus to their power from wealth. So based on the fact that their wealth is actually increasing this much, I'm kind of interested in seeing whether or not this wouldn't make them a more dominant player in our empire, because they would be secular. It makes sense, they have they would be completely separate from us, so they could do whatever they want and enjoy the power coming from their wealth. So I was thinking about doing that, but I mean, I can definitely understand why someone would want the church to be completely subordinate to the state, but I kind of prefer to have them have a less impact on us due to their lower autonomy. I mean, it's interesting. It is definitely interesting to see that. Okay, moving on, let's look at the industry. So I'm going to put both the industry in the original territory and in the whole territory on the screen right next to each other, so you can see the difference. I was kind of interested in seeing that there is an actual production difference in the original territory. We had a lower production in several places, most notably, as you can see, the consumer goods and the food that we have we are producing there, which decreased. We had market increased in industrial and raw materials, though. So I guess there is a little bit of a shift in what the central provinces or the starting provinces that we have had are working on. As a whole territory, though, it is kind of interesting. You saw me talk about the food production quite a lot, and I'm happy to say that our food production has grown insanely. It blew up by 327.72 points, but it's still not enough. The deficit that we're actually facing has increased, which is kind of funny, because in the previous one, we had produced 805 units of food. We had a demand for 885 units of food, which means that the surplus has been minus 80. Or actual deficit has been minus 80. The production difference, though, was 192. So we have been increasing the food production, but the surplus, but the deficit was, still there. Now we have, we are producing 327 more units of food, actually 328 if we want to round it up, but the deficit is 156. So despite the fact that we are producing way more food, it is still not enough. It actually makes sense why the industrial script is, or the investment script, why it's pouring so much into agriculture in many of the provinces, because there is just such high demand for the food. And I'm actually thinking whether or not this might also lead to the thing that we have seen at the population stats, where some of our people are getting poorer because the food probably costs way more than it ought to. I don't know how to fight this. We would probably have to heavily invest into irrigation in some of our provinces. I've previously checked that we have places like Eskişehir or Engiru which have a huge production of food, but the irrigation in these provinces would be very expensive, and I'm not even making this stuff up. When you look at where is it? Build infrastructure. If you want to improve irrigation just by rank 1, it costs 193. If you want to increase the irrigation by 2 ranks, it's going to be 853 for one single province. And that's based on the size, fine. But you can see that wait, can I see the irrigation stats here? Yes, you can see that the difference per level is just 6% of production. So for 12% of food surplus in one single province, we would have to pay nearly 900 gold. So that seems like a little bit of waste, especially because they invest in the irrigation as, you know, the provinces themselves over time. So it is popping in some of our provinces already. Like in Silesia, they have irrigation rank 2 already. If they went a level, and then again you can see it's just a difference by 6. But yeah, I'm not sure if that is worth our while, because, you know, for that cost alone you can build like 3 bastions, or, you know, invest into dozen of provinces and improve their garrison. So I'm leaving this to the population. Hopefully we're not gonna face any major famines as the time is going by. Is the time is gonna be going by. Jesus, I'm all over the place today. Either way, the food production we have covered, but we had an increase pretty much everywhere. Raw materials went up by 308 points as well. Industrial by 166. We had a huge growth in salt, fiber, and fuel production, and we had I'm happy that we had a growth in every single place. Like, if you look at the stat, it is everywhere. You can see the exotic materials, delicacies, pretty much everything that you can think of has increased. Now, when it comes to military, we're just gonna go and look at it right now. You can see that we now have 44 forts, some of them being level 3. We had previously 32, so we are building more and more. When it comes to infantry regiments, right now, using the Janissary Musketeers, which is a new unit for us that we gained very recently, and also the Suvarevere cavalry. We now have 16 infantry regiments. We used to have 14. We now have 13 cavalry. We used to have 8. And we have 10 artillery regiments. We used to have 8. It's also good because, you know, land force limit, while we are a little bit over, our army is way more potent. The manpower also went up by 5,000. We used to have 54,480. Now we have 59,500. So a market increase in total manpower. That's based on the estates relations. We have 60 ships, though. We used to have 64, which again comes from the unfortunate battle with the Mamluks, where, you know, I didn't realize what was happening until it was too late. And technology-wise, we have 3 extra levels in administrative technology, 2 extra levels in diplomatic, and 5 extra levels in military. Hopefully we're gonna, you know, the pistols are gonna come soon, and we're gonna get them. But I feel a little bit on edge when it comes to technology, because we are markedly falling behind in various places. But unfortunately, that's how it is. And I never played the Ottomans. I never played any of the Eastern nations in this mod, not in the newer versions anyway. And I expect that they will make it increasingly difficult for us to face off to the enemies, because, you know, the commercializations and other institutions that are going to spread over Europe and their colonies are going to be markedly increasing the cost of technology for us. So that is something to look forward to. And last but not least, let us look at the great powers, where we are now third. We have been bumped up again, though, interestingly, what is it, rating, 100, development divided by current technology cost, okay. Because it's interesting that as far as development itself goes, we have the highest one, but I guess it is overall. So for example, France has smaller territory, but has 1417 development. So when we look at them compared to us, yeah, we have some pretty bad provinces, while they are almost completely yellow and green. Interesting to see that. I'm still kind of envious of Paris, though, because I would really love to have 200,000 people living in Constantinople. I mean, you know, as residents, I mean, 246,000. Yeah, 443. Actually, let's go with 444,000 live there, and we have measly 134. I guess, we have ourselves to blame because we decimated and pillaged Constantinople several times. Even though it was, very little impact, it still hurt them quite significantly, so we're building from a much worse place. And I actually wanted to show you one more thing before we go, and that is the charts on the ledger. Hold on. Come on, I lost it. My apology. I was looking at what stats we have in the ledger, and this is the only one that actually made me really interested because it provides a really nice visualization of what we have in our territory. So, okay, core, non-core, that isn't really important because we know that we're gonna be core 100% very soon. But I find it more interesting for the religious pie and for the cultural pie. So you can see that 76.1% of our provinces are Sunni, and that translates to 75.3% development. We have 2.9% Shiite, which have 4.2% of our development. So there is more of a development in these provinces than there should be. Catholic, we have 2.2%, and their development is lower than they should have. And Orthodox, we have 17.9% and 16.6% development. And we also have Oriental. I think that's actually only one province, and that one has 1% share, and we have development of 2%. And when it comes to cultures, we have a lot of them. Most are Osmanlılar, which is good, 24.4%. We have Turkmenlar, 22.7%. So these are pretty much the same. When it comes, they're very close to each other, so I count that together. The next one is Bulgarian, 11.8%. Then we have Romanoi, 10.1%. And then you get to very small shares like Seljuk, 4.9%. You have Arevdian. I don't even know. I guess that's Armenian, honestly. 4.3%. We have Kilikian, which should be very close to this one as well. 3.4%. Lazoy, and you can see that we have a ton of these. We have some Nogai. We have some Kipchak. And actually, okay, so these are probably the ones. Is there something like others? Interesting, because this shows Serbian. These are... No. Okay, so these are all of them. Just not in any particular order. That's interesting. Kurdi, Osmanlılar, Turkmenlar. Interesting. So we have Nogai, two of them. One with, Y and one with I. Kipchak, Syriac, Masri. Interesting. Either way, that's all I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed the update. It's pretty much good news all over. We have really good growth in development. We have really nice growth in population. We grew territorially as well. So, I call that a win on all accounts. On the other hand, we had some downsides as well. Mostly our Constantinople, our capital, is not growing as I would like it, and our core territories and core cities reflect that. On the other hand, it is what it is. We grow as an empire, and hopefully Constantinople is gonna catch up once the constant plagues are gonna stop. So, thank you very much for joining me, and I'll see you in the next one.